Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Caroline Jambi. If you're new here, karibu sana. So today we are going to talk about HIV and AIDS. It's a disease that is acquired in the body, and after you acquire it in the body, it compromises the immunity. Or what is immunity? Immunity is the ability of the body to fight infections or diseases. So after you have acquired the infection or the HIV and AIDS, and it compromises the immunity, the body is not able to fight other infections, and that's when you get people who are HIV positive. They have the opportunistic infections. So if they don't take their drugs properly, and if they are not able to accept their status, so we are going to mainly focus on how to know that you are eligible for a HIV test. And how do you know that you are eligible for a HIV test? Number one, have you been tested for HIV before? How do you know if you've been tested for HIV before? You cannot measure your HIV status with somebody else like people do. They find like maybe their partner, they have been tested already and they're HIV negative, and they're like, oh, I'm also HIV negative. No, you have to go to maybe the facility, or maybe somewhere, a clinic, where you are going to undergo that test, and then you're going to see your status. So if you know you've never been tested for HIV before, that is one point to check at or to look at and know that you are eligible for HIV test. So also for those who have been tested, if it's more than 2 years before, nowadays you go with 2 years. So if you took your last test like 2 years ago, you're supposed to go for another test, because that is for general population. For general population, we do it after every 2 years, biannually. So if you know the last test was like 2 years ago, you are eligible for a test. And the other point is, have you been in an exposure, HIV exposure, within the last 1 year? What do we say? Like, what do we mean when we say an HIV exposure? Like, for example, you have had an unprotected sex for the last 1 year, and you don't know the HIV status of the person. That is an exposure. So you are supposed to go and take a test. So the other point you should look at is your sexual partner HIV positive. There's this couple we call disconduct couple. A disconduct couple is whereby you are in a relationship with a person who is HIV positive, and you yourself, you're HIV negative. That person is at high risk of HIV. So that person, actually, they are supposed to take their test after every 3 months. Every 3 months they're supposed to take their HIV test, because that is high risk exposure. So the other part is, are you in a relationship with a person who is with a known status of HIV? You are also eligible for a test. If you know you've been having partners who you don't know their status, HIV status, that is an eligibility screening tool to show you that you are supposed to go and have that test. So the other point is, are you in the key population population? Like, for example, what do we say the key population? The key populations are like those men who have sex with other men. Those people, they are at high risk of HIV exposure, because when they are having the sex, there's no lubrication, so the HIV risk is very high. The other people who are at key population, we call them sex workers. These sex workers, they are not able to negotiate for safe sex. That's why they are in those key population targets. So are you a sex worker? You're supposed to have your test at least after every 3 months. Also the long distance truck drivers, they are at high risk of HIV exposure, because when they travel, they are away from their partners. So when they have the urge, they just do it with other people they meet on the way. So even the injecting drug users, those people, because of influence of the drugs, they don't know how they share the needles that they used to inject the drugs with, so they are at high risk of HIV exposure. So for those people also, they're supposed to take their test after every 3 months. Also for breastfeeding and the pregnant women, they're supposed to take their test. They are eligible for HIV test, because for the pregnant women, they are having the baby inside, and if they are HIV positive, they are at high risk of transmitting the diseases to the children, the unborn kids. So when it comes to delivery, so they should get tested, and also the breastfeeding mother. That is all for the adults. So now we are going to talk about the eligibility tool for the children. How do you know that a child is eligible for a HIV test? Number one, if the child is sick and they don't have any documented HIV status, that kid is eligible for a HIV test, because we don't know the status of the kid, and it's not even documented ever. So they should be tested. The other part, if the child is malnourished, if a kid is HIV positive, the immune system of the kid is compromised, so they tend to have maybe malnutrition. So if the kid is malnourished, they should get tested also. It's a key tool to know the eligibility of the kid. If also the kid or the child is an orphan, or the mother died of an unknown illness, also that kid should be tested, because you don't know like what happened, and maybe the kid might have the HIV virus, so they should be tested. So go get tested, guys. Do not be afraid. HIV is just a status. You can live positively with HIV. The only problem with people, like, they don't know how to accept it at first, but with time, if they have the right support system, they come to accept it. And many people, they are coming to accept the status, and they are using their drugs well. And after using the drugs well, they are okay, and they live positively, and their lives continue as well as normal. So until next time, bye guys, I love you.